What if Tatsumaki was Deku's mother? Chapter 11. Ashito, Bakugo, and Todoroki stood in front of Deku, concern covering their faces. Please, you're filled with so much anger. Please, let us help you burn it off. Fight us, we can handle it, said Ashito. Deku slowly got to his feet, his energy swirling around him. Are you sure about this? Asked Deku. Completely. We need to help you, said Bakugo. A flicker of joy sparked in the corner of Deku's mouth as the others got ready. Pink sparks covered Ashito's body as Bakugo fired some explosions. Todoroki pulled off his jacket, not wanting to vaporize it when he ignited his fire. Well, you asked for it. Don't blame me when you get hurt, said Deku. Deku floated off the ground, green energy swirling around him. Just like his mother, the air seemed to bend and swirl inwards towards him, forming massive hurricanes. Still want to fight me? Asked Deku. Deku looked down at his classmates, who barely managed to stay upright in the fierce winds. You know this won't be enough to beat us, said Ashito. Deku shot down, shooting through the air, slamming Bakugo and Todoroki to the ground. He landed in front of Ashito, their bodies inches apart. Fine, I'll show you everything, said Deku. Deku grabbed Ashito with his power and shoved her backwards, slamming her back into a building all the way down the street. We aren't beaten so easily, said Todoroki. Todoroki slammed his hand on the ground, shooting a massive torrent of ice towards Deku. The sudden attack seemingly caught the grieving hero off guard, slamming him into the wall and freezing him in place. Not strong enough, said Deku. Deku's eyes glowed as he flicked his hand, grinding the ice down to powder in a second. Bakugo shot off the ground, getting right in Deku's face before blasting him with an explosion. Bakugo was aiming for his face, but Deku dodged his head to the side at the last second, letting the flaming attack zip past his head before grabbing Bakugo's head and slamming it into a barrier. As the blonde hero fell to the ground, dazed, Todoroki jumped in, all his fire condensed into one massive attack. Just like Mum would do, said Deku. Deku flicked his wrist, wrapping Todoroki's hand in a barrier, cutting it off from oxygen. Within moments, Todoroki's flames vanished as they ran out of air. Before he could even react, Deku leapt forward, grabbing Todoroki's face and slamming his head into the ground behind him. Two of the strongest future heroes were lying groaning on the ground, as Deku walked away from the wall to stand in the middle of the road. He stared across the training site to see Ashito walking up the road. You attack them, but you only throw me away. Why? Said Ashito. I've never liked hurting you. Even for training it felt wrong, said Deku. I feel the same way, but who else is there? I know I can't beat you on my own, but I'm the only one who has a chance. But if you want to stop and talk about... Ashito was cut off by Deku. No, I want to keep going, said Deku. Deku's head was low as his energy surged with power. The two of them shot towards each other, Ashito's pink fist smashing through Deku's barrier and catching him in the face. He was knocked back a few meters before launching back with a massive gravity-boosted kick that smashed into her shoulder. However, she didn't fall. Instead, Ashito used her incredible dancing abilities to redirect the attack into a rotational energy. Ashito tanked the attack, flipping forward and axe-kicking Deku across the face. He smashed into the ground, but didn't stop. With a flick of his wrist, Ashito was slammed into the ground, then thrown into the air. No way am I losing like this, said Ashito. Ashito's limit of one for all was very high, thanks to her gravity training with Deku. She yelled as her body pulsed with power, pushing all the way up to 40%. As she flew upwards, she thrust her arms backwards, unleashing a powerful air blast, firing like a cannon back down to earth. Before Deku could say anything, Ashito jumped forward, smashing her fist into Deku's stomach, then across his face, then a massive uppercut cut to the jaw, launching him off the ground. Deku didn't land, however, instead floated in the air, wiping the blood from his lip. You always amaze me with how strong you are, said Deku. Ashito blushed a little However, it was impossible to see, thanks to her already bright pink face. Deku shot forward, heading straight for Ashido when something span up behind him and unleashed a gigantic explosion in the small of his back, slamming him back down to earth. "Forget about me?" asked Bakugo. Deku flipped around, ready to throw Bakugo away, when a massive wave of ice smashed into him, freezing him in place. "I didn't give you enough credit. I wasn't expecting you to get back up yet," said Deku. Deku went to vaporize the ice, but he was stopped when Todoroki unleashed a massive burst of flame, rapidly heating the cool air and hitting Deku with a massive blast. "Flash, freeze, heat wave!" yelled Todoroki. Deku was blasted backwards through multiple buildings before coming to a stop. He laid in the rubble, blood dripping from his mouth. Roaring with power, Deku blasted the buildings apart, floating the rubble in the air as he slowly floated towards the others. "Get ready, guys," said Ashido. The other two got into their stances as Deku threw the rubble at them like a storm of meteors. "AP machine gun!" yelled Bakugo. Bakugo fired dozens of small explosions like bullets from a gun, blasting apart the rubble. "Acid veil!" yelled Ashido. Ashido flicked her hand up, throwing out a wall of acid, blocking the attacks coming for her. "Heaven-piercing ice wall!" yelled Todoroki. Todoroki stamped his foot, unleashing a massive wall of ice, blocking him from Deku's onslaught. "Impressive," said Deku. Deku shot forward, smashing through Todoroki's ice, and grabbed all three of them. With a flick of his wrist, he floated them off the ground, then slammed them into each other. "Is this what you wanted? You want me to beat you up over and over again?" "How does this help?" asked Deku. Tears began to roll down his face as his rage boiled over. "Take this seriously already," yelled Deku. Deku shot forward, slamming Bakugo into a wall and throwing Todoroki into the air. Grabbing Ashido's collar, Deku slammed her back into the ground, but was knocked away by a massive kick before he could continue. "Keep going," yelled Deku. Deku shot forward again, just in time for Ashido's fist to smash into his face, smashing him back. She leapt after him, hitting him again and again. Not letting her get a hold, Deku shoved her into the air, then shot after her, ramming his knee into her gut. Winded, Ashido tried to grab him, but Deku smashed her in the back with a massive hammer fist. She smashed into the concrete, splintering it, but didn't stay down. Using all the power she could muster, she jumped towards Deku and grabbed him. As Deku wriggled to throw her off, Ashido managed to get some non-acidic slime in Deku's eyes, blinding him, then wrapped her arm around his neck, cutting off his air. Deku choked, but managed to grab Ashido with his power. However, no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't get her off him. She clung to his neck for dear life, desperately trying to knock him out. "Fine, final option it is," said Deku. Deku span around and shot towards the ground at maximum speed. Ashido would hit first, but both of them would be hurt. "Just like the plan," said Bakugo. Bakugo shot into the air and grabbed hold of Deku's collar as they fell. Deku and Ashido looked up at him as he unleashed a gigantic explosion above him, sending all three of them shooting into the ground even faster. At the last second, Ashido let go and kicked off Deku to get away. The green-haired boy smashed into the ground a second before getting hit with a gigantic wave of flames that smashed into the ground, and then smashed into the ground by another massive explosion. Bakugo's hand was on his face, still smoking from the last attack, but Deku's rage refused to fall. "It's all my fault," said Deku. Deku yelled, throwing Bakugo off him and smashing the blonde through a wall. Bakugo slumped to the ground, dazed. "My weakness killed them," said Deku. Deku grabbed Todoroki and slammed his head into the ground, knocking him out as well. "I could have killed that bastard that took them from me," said Deku. Ashido shot out of the air, smashing Deku's face into the ground, and twisting his arm around behind his back. "You should have let me die with them," screamed Deku. Tears rolled down Deku's eyes again. "I'll never see them again." "It's all my fault," said Deku. Deku managed to aim his hand towards Ashido and throw her backwards. He was quickly running out of power, so she didn't go far. As Deku got to his feet, Ashto could see that he was seriously beaten, and so were they. His barriers must be failing. He's actually taking damage now, said Ashto. Suddenly, Bakugo jumped out of the rubble and shot towards Deku, blasting him point blank with a massive explosion. Deku's body shot backwards, heading straight for one of the buildings destroyed in the battle. Time seemed to slow down for Ashto as she tracked Deku across the sky with her eyes. In the pile of rubble he was about to smash into, a sharp piece of rebar stuck out. Deku's neck was inches from it, a nanosecond from him dying. "No!" screamed Ashto. Ashto let out an ear-shattering scream as her hand shot out, desperately trying to grab Deku, even though he was so far out of reach. "The time has come," said the first. Ashto's scream became shrill and pain-filled as thick black tendrils shot out of her arm and grabbed Deku's limp body a moment before impact. He was thrown to the side as the tentacles shot all over the place, smashing through buildings and throwing Ashto through the air. "What's going on?" asked Deku. Deku looked up in shock as Ashto screamed with all her might. It looked like she was being torn apart from within. Deku shot towards Ashto, but was slapped to the side by a powerful tendril. He groaned in pain as he staggered to his feet, blood dripping from his mouth. "What are those things?" said Deku. Deku flicked his wrist, wrapping Ashto in a bubble and trapping the whips. Deku shot into the air and floated outside the bubble. Within, he could see Ashto's terrified and pained expressions as the tendrils violently thrashed against the barrier. "I'll save you," said Deku. Deku opened the barrier just long enough for him to slide inside. The black whips immediately targeted him, smashing him over and over again. Each hit was like a blow from All Might, but Deku pushed forward. Eventually he managed to grab hold of Ashto, wrapping his arms around her. Deku pulled her close and kissed her, making the black whip stop. "Earlier, I wasn't thinking straight. I'm sorry, and I love you too, Ashto," said Deku. They closed their eyes as they rested their foreheads against each other. "Thank you," said Deku. The black whips vanished, and so did Deku's barrier. The two of them floated down to earth before passing out. Deku walked over, looking at the two of them holding each other in their arms. "Nice one, buddy," said Bakugo. Bakugo looked around at the destroyed buildings and his three unconscious classmates, and began to worry about something. "How the hell am I going to explain this?" asked Bakugo. A few days passed. The four of them had been thoroughly chewed out by Aizawa. However, he took mercy when he found out why. After a particularly difficult day, with the entire class getting beaten by Mirio, Deku knocked on Ashto's door. "Come in," said Ashto. Deku opened the door to see Ashto laying on her bed reading a book. "Oh, Deku, how's your face?" asked Ashto. Deku had found out rather painfully that his quirk was completely useless against Mirio. The phantom hero could easily phase through his barriers and couldn't be grabbed. "Still hurts. How about yours?" said Deku. "I've had ice on it for about an hour," said Ashto. Ashto laughed but stopped when it hurt. Deku's heart twinged seeing her in pain. "I want to give you something. Something as a thank you for the other day. I was in a bad place and you helped me get my feelings out there." "You saved me again," said Deku. "You saved me as well. Black whip is intense," said Ashto. Deku's hands were behind his back, but moved them in front of him to hand Ashto a small box with a bow. "It's just something I made. Todoroki helped as well because I needed some heat," said Deku. Ashto was confused until she opened the box to see the most beautiful necklace embroidered with glistening pink diamonds. Her eyes went wide as her jaw hit the floor. A smile slowly spread across Deku's face as he sat on the bed next to her. It's completely one of a kind. A few pieces of meteorite superheated and crushed, and then added the right chemical to give it the pink tint, said Deku. "Did you say meteorite?" asked Ashto quietly. "Well, I wanted it to be special, and there was some near Earth," said Deku. Deku's smile was even bigger as Ashto stared at the glistening necklace. It's beautiful, said Ashito. Ashito wrapped her arms around Deku, almost crushing him with a hug. You're so amazing, thank you. So much, but I don't deserve something like this. I just did the right thing, said Ashito. Well, if I'm being honest, I wanted to make it for your birthday, but I wasn't sure how you felt about me at the time. Sorry you only got chocolate then, said Deku. Ashito pushed her forehead against Deku's and looked him in the eyes. Do you know how I feel about you now? Asked Ashito. Yeah, it's the same way I feel about you, said Deku. Slowly the two of them kissed, before Ashito pulled Deku into the bed. They lay down on her pillow, staring into each other's eyes, as the necklace and box floated over to the desk thanks to Deku's powers. You really got me space diamonds? Asked Ashito. Yeah. Do you know how hard it is to grab a meteorite? They are fast, said Deku. Ashito let out a little laugh, moving closer to Deku. You ass, how am I supposed to beat that? No matter what I do, I will never beat space diamonds, said Ashito. Think how I feel. I'm absolutely doomed. What am I going to do for your birthday now? Said Deku. The two of them laughed, pulling each other into their arms. Maybe some Martian flowers, said Ashito. Or some dumbbells made out of moon rocks, said Deku. Ashito laughed, pulling him close. Thank you. It's so beautiful and all the girls are going to be so jealous, said Ashito. God, I love you, said Deku. I know, said Ashito. The two of them kissed. She kissed him before snuggling into him. End of chapter 12.